what do we know about the ECB? Have they received information about the details of the case of your central bank governor?
The ECB and our anti-corruption office is in process in getting all the information provided to the ECB so that they can take their decision on whether or not the principles of the independence of the ECB have been infringed. But what I would like to stress, I think it's a common practice in a democratic country with a strong rule of law that any allegations regarding the public officials and law or potential unlaw conduct are taken very seriously by the law enforcement institutions, and that is why the parliament of the country and the cabinet of the ministers do trust our law enforcement institutions in this process regarding the detention and security measures imposed on the governor of the central bank.
Minister, do you have any concerns about the governor attending the ECB meetings?
All the details are still to be analyzed, how big the mandate still there is for the governor to attend the ECB meetings. As you probably know, the security measures do imply the deterrence from going abroad, and restrictions are put on holding the office and the position to be held.
Minister, wonderful to speak to you today. We should point out also that you are a chess player of world-class renown. How close is Latvia to the end game of this chess match? What is the urgency to get this fixed this weekend?
All is well that ends well, and thus it is of vital importance that we come out of the situation stronger, more sustainable, and with a well-regulated Latvian financial sector that can be trusted. And this is the most important thing, to win the game, if we may say so.
Minister, I must ask you this morning about the stunning news from Washington, a president of the United States that wants to take a different tact on trade, and that would, of course, be tariffs. I assume that Latvia will be minimally affected, but you must comment on what it means for your greater Europe.
We are a small and open market, which does, of course, have the effect coming from the trading partners and immediately having the effect on the growth figures as well. But we would stand very strongly together with the European Union in the dialogue with our trading partners, so that they also would pursue the international trade rules, and so that they would be beneficial for both sides.
Minister, going back to some more domestic issues and that bribery probe, have you seen an impact on Latvian banks that hold foreign deposits? Have you seen outflows increase?
We do have this challenging situation with one of the banks, which is one of the biggest banks, the third biggest bank in Latvia, ABLV, which is, though, not the bank of the systemic importance. So generally, the finance sector and the economy itself has not been notably affected by the bank stopping its operations. And this is one thing that we have made sure for already several years, making sure that these banks that are dealing with the non-residential business would be having the adequate capital and liquidity ratios so that to be on the safe side if some detrimental effect happens to the banks themselves.
Minister, Latvian banks in the past have handled very big transfers for clients in U.S. dollars. Do you think that will dwindle because of what happened in February?
I think this is a very high time for the ECB and the national banking sector to try to take the opportunity and try to revise the borders of the responsibility of the common supervision of the banking sector. As you probably know, the AML issues are currently left as the national prerogative, while the common business models are supervised by the ECB, at least including the biggest banks. But I think this experience with Latvia and the specific case with ABLV shows that if we are thinking of the common banking sector supervision, it still should be reconsidered whether the AML should not be included as a part of the responsibility for the ECB monitoring and supervision process as well.
Minister, I want you to sell me on Latvia right now. To too many of our viewers worldwide, it's a bundled Baltic states of Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia. What is the Latvia distinction now, and what will be the Latvia distinction in 5 years?
I think that the advantage of the three Baltic states, besides the fact that we are the strong democratic countries with a strong rule of law, is the ability to be flexible and dynamic and change our economies and practices and policies following the needs of, say, today's economies. And that is the distinction that we are proud about at this point, and we rely so much for the future of our people.
Minister, I look at the banking crisis, and I know you want to move on from it. Will it have any permanent damage for Latvia in its relations with Frankfurt, and for that matter, with its relations for Brussels? Is this an event that you do and you clear it and you move on, or is there real permanent damage here?
This has been the task of the government and the banking sector already for several years, to understand that the simple transaction business servicing the non-residentials is a business of yesterday, and we should clean the sector, do it at a much faster pace. I think the announcement of the U.S. Treasury regarding ABLV and the consequences that the bank itself faced has clearly showed to the rest of the business sector that this is a no-go or no way. So this would be an additional motivator for the finance sector to get back on the track and become more sustainable, more stronger and cleaner and trusted. This is a strong dedication given by the sector itself and pursued by the government. And this is the agenda for our following few years to notably decrease the non-residential business so that we can be trusted and no suspicions on the potential use of the Latvian finance sector for the criminal activities would be possible.
Minister, when do you expect a resolution? When will you be able to put this behind you?
Sorry?
When will this be over? When will the probe end? When will we have a decision on what happens next?
We are waiting for the ECB's decision, how they do regard the situation with our governor of the central bank. That's one point. The bank, ABLV, it has taken the decision of the self-liquidation, so our regulator still has to take the decision on this issue, while in parallel they have to work out the issues stated by the U.S. Treasury in their public statement regarding the finance sector of Latvia. And in the parallel, the government is now working on different changes in legislation so that to make the finance sector even stronger than it has been since a while.